Welcome to Roll for Crit, the official podcast for rollforcrit.com, the online board game store where you can watch, shop, and then play. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler. We had a really busy week.
Yes, we did.
Yes, and we, as you can tell by our shirts, we're invited to the PhD Speed Gaming event in Dallas, Texas.
That is correct.
Where not only did we get a chance to see a lot of games through their speed gaming event, but also interview a lot of the developers with some of their new stuff. Those videos will be going up separately throughout the week. So keep an eye out for that.
Yes.
But for now, we're going to talk about our overall experience and some of the stuff that wasn't in the interviews, but was during the actual speed gaming event.
Exactly. So if you are unfamiliar, we did attend this event last year, but if you don't know, this is a special thing run by PhD, who are a wholesale game distributor, mainly for retailers. So that's why if you're not a retailer, you probably didn't have a chance to go, so don't feel too bad. It's really to show off kind of the new games to retail stores, that kind of a thing. A chance for publishers to talk to them one-on-one, etc. And Tuesday should be when those start coming out. Also, we can just do some quick housekeeping up front, because why not? We also got to do an interview recently with the guys who did Hardback. That just went out yesterday. You can find that on our channel. That's on Kickstarter now. Tim Fowers and Jeff Beck. It's a pretty cool interview. And you are going to see probably later today our review for the digital app of Onirim that we also did. So tons of stuff that we've been doing, really very busy. And then, as you said, Tuesday, all those interviews. So I've got in list alphabetical order of publisher, some of the games that we got to see. This is, like you said, just a fraction of the ones that we saw, but stay tuned because all that will be coming in our interviews later. But these are games that we either didn't see there or that we got to play later to expand upon in order of no preferential treatment alphabetically. So we're going to start with AEG, who had a few really cool things to show us, starting with Custom Heroes. And this is their next game that is going to be part of their card crafting system.
If you haven't played it yet, the first one was Mystic Veil. It's the first one we've talked about before. Pretty much cards are in sleeves and they're all see-through, and the idea is you can put things over them to craft the card.
And I think we were both expecting this Edge of Darkness game to be coming out next. It's from the same designer using that system, but it looks like another smaller one maybe is coming first.
What I thought was going to happen was more of the Edge of Darkness had like 4 or 5 of these crazy new systems or something.
Oh, they're going to combine them all?
Well, no, like Mystic Veil was one teaching crafting, another game that's hot one, and then that way, once you've played each of those, you can jump into the Edge of Darkness, kind of.
But
I mean, the crafting system proved to be very popular, so they made another one. In this one, it's sort of a what was the game? Not Crazy 8 style, but sort of the place the same value or higher number in a pile.
Is it Rummy?
Win the trick.
I don't know. I can't keep track of those old games.
Pretty much it's a pile, and you try to get either a higher number or multiples to beat the last one.
Sort of like Uno? I don't know.
And you're going to use these hero cards, and each round before you can customize them. Everyone gets the same amount of customizations and stuff. But you can get one so you can, maybe you want to wait to customize, or maybe you load it up all in one card. So like someone plays a 6, then you're like, all right, I played this hero who has 2 swords and this, so it's a 15.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool, the look of it, the way you could add to, and you'd see all the different stats adding up on the one card, really making it this crazy powerhouse.
But the other cool thing was that you received awards after each round, and it was that if you win first, you get more cards, and that's good, but you didn't really get anything else out of it. But like the last place got more upgrade rewards. So if you start losing a bit, all of a sudden they're just going to come out of nowhere and just start nuking everyone. Yeah,
it seems like a nice catch-up mechanic. So that looks cool. The card crafting system is pretty neat. I mean, we've talked about it before. Like it's a little gimmicky, but it's fun in its execution. So that should be
different. So
yeah. For now, until there's 12 of these. But until then, we'll be excited for that. We also got to check out some upcoming stuff for that Smash Up tournament kit that's coming out.
Yeah, we got to see the mat, which was really cool because it actually had not only places for 6 bases, so that's 5 people. It actually had a tracker for each base, so you can actually see, like, in total, there are 15 points on this base. And when we both saw that, we're like, Oh, that's good.
It's nice because if you've played Smash Up, one of the headaches can be trying to remember how many points are on something, and half the game almost is looking at it, trying to figure it out. Of course, you're still, I guess, going to be doing that. So you just assign somebody to be the tracker to make sure everything is right.
But just that as an option is nice.
It's very nice, very nice. So that looks really cool, and that's part of that OP kit that we've talked about that's coming out this summer. Then the one we actually got to play from AEG is Lovecraft Letter, which if you're not sure, if you're in the dark, it's love letter based on the Cthulhu mythos.
However, we were pleasantly surprised that it wasn't just take a Cthulhu picture and taped onto a card.
No, it was pretty different. Each card is double-sided. So
it's not double-sided. There's two versions.
Oh, yes.
So like if you play regular love letter, there's like 5 of these soldier or basic whatever love letter you're playing, and that's usually the name a card outside of 1. If the person has it, they're out. Well, there's a madness version of every card, and if you already play 1 madness, the madness card has
insanity. I think is the term they use in this game, but
if you they have the regular printing on it, but if you played an insanity card already, you can get their insane version. An example of that one in particular was instead of saying a number outside of 1, you guess someone who has 1. A card with the value of 1.
Right.
So there's pretty much double the deck size.
Yeah, which is pretty neat. And some people could have the same cards, but with completely different uses for them at the same time.
We actually had 2 people at a group who both had the 8 cards and then tried to duel each other, which became quite hilarious because then everyone's like, okay.
Those, of course, are Cthulhu and the Necronomicon, if you're wondering, and it seems to fit. So yeah, it was very interesting. I know we got tripped up a little bit thinking of the old love letter and then realizing, oh no, this plays pretty differently. And it has a cool box, looks like a book, which is nice. So
and they had 2 different win conditions.
What were they?
You could win. You either win twice without playing any the insanity cards,
right,
or 3 times, I believe,
with as being insane,
yeah.
Right? So yeah, that added a little different strategy to it.
So there's a lot more than just playing the cards outside of just abilities. It'd be like, do I want this insane card? Also, once you go insane, you actually before you draw flip over a card, and if it's an insanity card, you're automatically out.
Right.
So there's a lot more to it, and we really liked that. It was something surprising considering when you think of a reskin, which is very common in games like Love Letter or something very simple, and Cthulhu, which is sort of everyone reskins.
So if you are sick of love letters, you might want to try this one out because it does add a little something different to it. So that was AEG. That was cool. Bezier Games showed us a few things when we talked to them that we'll see, but I think the only one that we actually got to try on the floor was Werewords.
Yeah, we talked about that in the interview, but we actually got to try it. Did you try it?
I did.
Because that was one where we're sort of
some
split
things
up.
We rotated. We didn't get to play it together. But basically, you'll see the interview, but essentially it's, as they describe it, werewolf meets 20 questions. And you're trying to figure out a word, and the person who's the mayor can only give out yes or no answers, but the mayor could be the werewolf, they could be lying to you, or someone else could be working for the werewolf and trying to ask questions to throw everybody else off the trail. I'm curious how your play session went, because in ours, I was a normal villager, and everyone thought it was the werewolf because my questions were terrible, but we had a really difficult word.
What did you have?
Our word was activate. And the guy who was the mayor was also the werewolf, and he was like, I didn't have to do anything to help because this word was so hard, like you just lost automatically. What was your word?
We had, the word was Xbox One.
Oh, that's interesting.
The mayor was also the werewolf. We actually had to stop early because the timer for rotating, but he said he was going to pick me to be the seer.
Oh, okay.
And we actually stopped. It was really great because the way we stopped is we had.
He was going to guess you were the seer.
Yeah, because I started off right off the bat saying how many words are in the phrase. And he's like, oh, he knows. And I didn't think about even. And the last thing I said, well, is it PlayStation 4? And he's like, Xbox One. I'm like, ah.
That's cool. So it uses an app, so it has lists of words generated from that.
But I had no idea he was a werewolf. Like, it was mean that actually the seer, because apparently, because I asked him, the seer's like, he's got it. Like so it was just the two of us just like hammering the question. It was a lot of fun, and people could actually upload their own lists. Like we actually talked about this in the interview. So they can't release a not safe for work one, but someone will make it.
Yeah, so that was really fun. If you like word games, I mean, that really was all the things I like wrapped up into one package. So look forward to our interview on that for more info. Bushi Road had one that I didn't get to try called Dragoborn.
Yeah, I actually did get to try it. It's a new trading card game from them. We used two basic decks that had the colors green, red, and yellow/white, but black and blue are supposedly coming.
Okay.
It was actually a lot of fun, and one of the things I liked is, unlike a lot of card games which I see come out, especially from Bushi Road, there are a lot of text written on them. I didn't feel like that was nearly as complicated.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which to me is a bit of breath of fresh air. I don't want to have a novel on each card.
Right. Especially when they're like the Japanese translated ones can be like just what.
Right. It just doesn't work well with me. But another cool thing is that pretty much you have 6 life. They're these shield cards. Sort of remind me, I forget there's another card game that did that, but I'm totally blanking on the name of it. But one of the things you can do is each turn you roll dice. And depending on, once you roll them, they can either be shields, in which they have to break through them. Like if you roll 6, they have to deal 6 damage before that die goes away for them to hit your life. Or you can put them on a creature and power them up. And some creatures are stronger if you put a die on. Like some just get regular one, but other ones will trigger something if you get on them. So I had that bit more of that weird randomness there. So it was surprisingly a fun, different game.
Was it? Are you thinking of Pixel Tactics or Versus or
No, this was like a trading. It had a TV show.
Okay, then I won't know.
Yeah, this is back high school era for us.
It did look. I didn't realize
Duel Masters. That was the name of it.
Duel Masters. Good job. I didn't realize it was actually a trading card game. From the looks of it, it looked like you had like a big playmat and stuff or something. It looked.
I believe he said like the trading card game, unless I asked the question.
You're probably right.
And I think he said 2 sets by the end of the year. So, but it was definitely interesting, something to check out if you like trading card games. I enjoyed it. And felt it was like just different enough for me to I'd be like, this is interesting.
That's good. Hey, what more can you ask for? We got to play from CMON. CMON, CMON, a game called Ethnos, possibly Ethnos, but I'm going to say Ethnos. This was pretty cool, one that we didn't talk about in the interview at all. I didn't even know it was going to be there.
Yeah, it's a combination of area control and trick playing.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Pretty much you're going to play, I think the deck comes, he said, with 12 different tribes.
That's correct, yep.
But we play with 6.
And it seems like you choose 6 at a time only, unless maybe with more players or something like that.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
It could be. You could maybe mix them in.
But the way it works is there's going to be a center common pool. And you're going to be collecting cards of the 6 tribes who also come in different colors, and they all have different abilities. And your goal is to try to, there's a territory landmass that's randomly divided on points for the first, second, and third round. And you have little discs, and every time you play trick, you can put a disc in that territory depending on how many cards were in that trick.
And the discs they stack kind of like Cosmic Encounter discs.
And whoever has the most there, and as in the tallest tower, is like first place for there.
But then depending on which cards you use, so the cards are dwarves, different, as you said, different kinds of fantasy themed races and
factions. I didn't say that, I just said different tribes, but yes,
I'll add
this is
that.
all like fantasy.
Medieval fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah, we saw dwarves, minotaurs, elves, centaurs, wizards.
Undead or something?
And undead,
Skeletons, maybe? Yeah.
And they all had a different ability. For example, and it's only the top card you played. So if you played a red elf, a red centaur, and a red wizard, it'd be whichever one you decide to be, and that's the ability that triggers. Wizard let you draw more. The dwarf actually scored more points at the end. The minotaur let you place more.
Yeah.
So,
they all had different things. And like you said, there were 6 more we didn't see, so lots of different things going on.
I knew one of them, he said, had its own scoring track.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So they get more complicated. It felt, it was, the drawing and stuff was a little Ticket Tried, he compared it to. And then
and also somewhat the mechanics of choosing cards and stuff.
Yeah, it felt kind of like that. Oh, yeah, because you have to play in multiple colors or multiple of the same race. So it was like Ticket Tried, collecting all the reds.
However, the other thing I like, which is interesting, and I love to play this with our friend Neil, who usually, does
Hordes cards.
Hordes and then just starts. Once you play one trick, unless it's the centaur lets you play another trick right afterwards, all the cards in your hand you have to put back in the common area.
Right.
So the hoarding strategy isn't nearly as strong.
Because eventually there's nothing left to draw face up. There is the face down deck.
Of course.
And then whatever you played, most of your stuff is going back, so then other people can pick from that pool as well. Mm-hmm. So pretty cool, unique feeling game. You would look at the board and see a map and think, oh, I know what's going on here, but it didn't really play. It played like a lot of other things I played before, but it felt very different.
The other thing that was nice is all the artwork on the cards on the board does feel that almost like Euro-y fantasy kind of game. But the pieces are like these really bright neon colors, so they really stand out on the board, which is very helpful.
And I think
when you see a bright pink tower,
because you're not moving around the board exactly, your units, it's very straightforward. It didn't feel heavy or intimidating of where some of these area control games can be like, oh, and I got to fight this guy, and I roll dice, and it's going to take forever, and I'm worried I'm going to lose everything I worked for. It felt very Euro-y, but also fairly light.
Because of the trick aspect, I think it's easier for people to understand it because no one can hoard. I don't think it's just like, great, he has all the black cards or whatever you're looking for. But it still had that fun aspect of being like, okay, they're like, at least when I was thinking, even though I knew we had like we played maybe 3 turns or something, 4 rounds.
Something like that.
I was thinking like, okay, there's no reason for me to play in that territory. Like, there's already 2 people going in there. Mm-hmm. No one's really played in that one. I'm going to focus on these 2, even though they're not as many worth points, because I have a better chance of winning them. So you still have that fun sort of, what I think a lot of people like about territory control games.
Yeah, no, I agree. So that one was really cool. And another one that most of these I think we weren't expecting to see, which was cool. Speaking of, Cryptozoic had... They talked about a totally different game in our interview, which you'll see, but what we got to see on the floor was one we've been talking about for a long time.
We should also mention we saw it was sealed, and they didn't open it, but they did have a box of the Rick and Morty Anatomy Park game there.
That's right. That was...
I'll put up a photo.
That was there. But the one that actually was on display fully was Attack on Titan.
Yes.
Not the deck building game.
Not the Extreme Prototype. This had pretty much all the final components.
Right. The new Antoine Bauza developed game. We did basically get to play it at Gen Con 2 years ago. This time, you got a little more time than I did. We were kind of rushing through it. But it was all there set up. Mm-hmm. You can go over briefly what it is for people.
If you haven't watched our video from before, it's pretty much it's a 1v all kind of game. The all being the Jaegers, I think they're called.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The humans trying to take on the one who is a Titan. The Titan's goal is either to kill one of the Jaegers or to take out the tower.
Right.
The Jaeger's job, kill the Titan.
And there's multiple different Titans, and they each have their own kind of weak points, potentially, in different ways you can try to take them out, different victory conditions, which is really cool.
And the other cool thing is the board is not flat. It is vertical. So there's the Titan, who has, I believe, floors like 1, 2, then 4, then 6 and 7.
Something like that.
But the tower is floors 3 and 5. So as the Jaegers, you are going to be jumping around, trying to get different spots, because certain cards may trigger if you're on like floor 5 and floor 2 with a certain rolls. But it's a press your luck game. You're rolling dice. You can roll as much as you want. However, and this is one thing I actually really liked about it, is you're pressing your luck, but if you roll Titan face, let's say you're the Titan player, you get that dice. And the pressing your luck pretty much isn't just you fail, it's more of like, and it becomes interesting in the team aspect because it could be like, I'd press my luck because no one's really been pressing yet. And you may get 2 of my dice, let's say. Then the next person's like, this is hard because you've already gotten 2 of his.
Right.
And the more you get, then you can get abilities like healing yourself, revealing other cards.
It's a perfect mechanic because it starts out with the Jaegers having a clear advantage, but then the tension ramps as the game goes on just totally naturally. So it's getting harder and harder and more suspenseful as it goes on.
Right, and the Titan has other things. He'll play 2 cards, one face up, face down, being like, I'm going to do bad things unless you guys roll this. But one can be face down, but there are ways to reveal it. So it's a lot of fun of this pressing your luck and the Titan just watching and waiting. So I thought it was playing with the final components are really nice too. The dice were very big, I'd say about the size of you'd see in either the Star Wars Destiny game, Splendor. These aren't small dice. These are really...
Are there dice in Splendor?
Not Splendor, I'm sorry, Seasons.
Seasons, okay, yeah. Got it.
So like nice big thick dice, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it looks great. The design is great. This is one we're still really excited to look for, and it's nice to see that it's finally close to completion. So definitely looking forward to that. I don't think we even need to tell you about it because Attack on Titan, it's got its fans. I guess in time for season 2, or close-ish, they'll have that out sometime this year.
I will say I actually have not seen the show, and I still enjoy it. So that should be a sign, right?
Yeah, that's a good sign. Fireside Games, they had a new one from the creator of Castle Panic, and it's also a co-op title where everybody is a firefighter, but you're on a hexagonal randomized map, and you're trying to put out fires, which are these big old fire, I don't want to say tokens, they're minis, I guess.
We actually did not see the final product.
We didn't see the final ones,
but in the interview, like, he's actually got nice clear ones. I mean, they still look gorgeous.
I still thought they were awesome.
Yeah. But they're actually making these nice clear.
But they are on the thing, and your goal is to put them all out, and you do that by rolling dice, and you have to get dice that match the symbols on whatever hexagon they're on. Again, it's a push your luck thing.
This reminded me a lot of Escape. In terms of that mechanic,
as in Escape the Temple, whatever that is.
Because you're rolling the dice and you can work together to add dice and whatnot. So there's the argument of whether you split up or do you go together.
Yeah.
But it also has that pandemic feeling of being like, if we don't go there, especially because I remember in my game, I mean, you'll see more in the interview, but in our game, the propane tank got one fire. I'm just like, I'm going to the propane tank.
Yeah, super fun. I mean, I think if you, like you said, the interview we go into more detail, but if you like any of those games like Pandemic, Forbidden Desert, Castle Panic, any kind of co-op game where you're working together to stop stuff from spreading, it's a really nice addition to that. It feels different and is really fun. So that's Hot Shots. Next up, Greater Than Games had a couple. Laser Riders, which was a Kickstarter. We didn't get to play it, but we saw the components.
Right, and we did talk about it in our interview.
Yeah,
so that's there.
The one that I think also talked about in the interview, but we saw a lot more of it on the floor, was Fate of the Elder Gods.
Yeah, this is a really big game. It has I think he said over 80 miniatures.
I think he said a lot.
Yeah, like a lot of miniatures. I mean, this game's going for $80. Pretty much, you're each playing as a different elder god and their cultists, and trying to be the first to summon yours.
Right. It's almost like the computer. The game is simulating an Arkham Horror game, and you're playing the gods trying to stop the good guys in a way. But you're really the cultist, and your gods are who you're worshiping.
Right.
And you're working to use their powers. It's interesting.
While backstabbing your friends and sending the investigators their way.
Yeah, it is kind of hard for me to explain because there was a lot going on. We didn't get to actually play a round of it.
Yeah, pretty much the way the game works is everyone has their elder god. They need to get, I think it was 9 power to awaken them or something. And you go around a board. It's pretty much just a nice circular board, and each place has different abilities, and there'll also be rune cards, which are actually also spell cards on each place, which will either be popular with more runes or used to cast spells, which is really fun. There are also some really silly curse cards that you can play on people. Right. And it's like the Crossroads cards in Dead of Winter, where you don't know what the curse is. But the player to your right does, so they'll be just waiting. And what I really like, I know this is a small thing, but the cards on them weren't just, when he tries to play a spell, make him discard a card. It was more like, your elder god is sick of your worship. They gave a little bit. It had a nice flavor to it for sure. And then there's things where the cultists, or not the cultists, the investigators, I guess, will get onto your personal card, and you have to roll to try to get rid of them, and they're going to mess with your day. It did look like a cool spin on a Cthulhu game. I mean, even they said when they brought it out, I know another Cthulhu game, but it seems fun. Yeah, and I know the base will be releasing with only a playmat. Right, a playmat. The playmat will be an optional you can buy. It's going to come with a hardboard, and as well as an expansion that includes more miniatures of monsters, so you can stick the Hounded Tindalos on your friends and stuff. Yeah, so if you like Cthulhu, yet another Cthulhu game for you. Spoilers, we talk about Cthulhu when we go to board game events. We can't avoid it. Yellow was next, and they had a game called Pyramids. We focused on it in our interview. I actually got to play it on the floor. I don't know, maybe you didn't. I didn't. I sat out that one. I kind of sat behind it, but every now and then there weren't enough chairs, so. Yeah, but
Mostly we're I think you should just watch the interview, but it was pretty fun. It's a puzzle kind of game where you're trying to draw cards to match their colors in different ways in your pyramid built of cards. When everybody finishes their pyramid, the game ends. But you also can add cards to your tomb, which goes face down, and your obelisk, which is just a vertical stack. And they each score in different ways. It is a really cool kind of a game that I do want to play again, because you get to... I think once you play it, you start to realize which combos make more sense.
I was looking at it, and it's definitely... I mean, you can see in our interview, it looked a lot of fun, and I really do like all the different aspects. It gets the perfect, like, there's still open scoring, so you can see if you're going for more that color, whatever the case. But with the tomb, it's hidden, so you still get that... I don't know, like if he's gonna out of nowhere, you know.
Yeah, the cool thing is, going in turn order, you get to decide which order you play in, and if you go first, obviously you get your pick of the cards that you want, but if you go later, you'll get to add your cards to more things.
So you don't always want to go first.
So that was really fun. It felt very interactive and competitive, but not too much. Like, people couldn't steal things from your pyramid or anything. So you didn't like think something wouldn't hit you that you didn't know was coming. You kind of prepare for it, which I liked. And it's a cool theme.
In the end, no matter what, everyone's gonna have a full pyramid too.
Right.
Which is a nice thing, because there's plenty of times when we played a game and like, I didn't even get a chance to hit the third floor.
That sucks. So Pyramids was cool. Ninja Division had a game on display called Rainbow Nights.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit in our interview. We didn't actually show it then, but we actually got to play it. It's pretty much I would almost call it a dexterity game.
It's definitely got an element of that.
Because it's not timed, it's not turn-based. Pretty much you're playing the Tron Cycle game. You have 2 piles of cards, and you can choose to play either one. They have different movements on them. One maybe there's like a straight line, one could be a U-turn, but your only rules are, at the end of the game, there's some cloud cards in the center. It's like a 2x2 foot.
Something like that.
And you can start anywhere, but once you start, your next card has to start at the end point. It'll be a little cloud. Or the last one is you can't go into your own track or your opponent's tracks, or leave the boundaries.
So it's sort of like, if you don't know Tron, it's also sort of like Snake or Centipede, and where you're building your line, but like you said, you're trying not to crash into anything.
So it's and you have 2 options, and what you could do is, like, if I don't like either option, I can take this card, put it on top of the other pile, and see what's underneath, so you can go. But that takes time. Because what you really want to do is try to lay out your cards as fast as possible and maybe enclose someone.
And all the cards are transparent. I don't know if you said that, but so that's cool, like Gloom style. But yeah, it's a super quick, frantic kind of party game that really, they said the box would be 6 and up, and anybody could play this. Little kids would like it. Adults can have fun with it. The art it's very simple, almost doesn't even need to be there, but it's cute.
I swear, that art looks like either Bravest Warriors or Adventure Time.
He compared it to Adventure Time,
yeah.
I know, but I don't think it's actually the same artist, but it definitely has that vibe to it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's probably not that hard to do that kind of art style.
Right. But it's very fitting. So that's Rainbow Nights. We got to talk a little bit to a representative from Paizo who was talking about the new Starfinder set, which is pretty neat. As if you don't know, that's the new sci-fi RPG instead of Pathfinder, Starfinder. I mean, it just looked cool. Again, we didn't actually get to try it.
Right.
But
the 2 cool things I learned from this was, one, they're making it so you can convert your Pathfinder characters you already have into Starfinder. So your GM can be like, guess what? You fell through a portal!
Yeah.
And you're now you can do Samurai Jack.
You can do Samurai Jack, or Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, or Avatar The Last Airbender.
And the other thing, which I think it almost needs to be some reason to me in the space one, because I feel like when you think of fantasy, usually it's the knights and the elves. There's usually certain races that are the good ones and the bad ones you can sort of expect. But when I think of like Star Trek and Star Wars or any of the space ones where there's other species, usually the species mix. There's no real there might be one obvious one, but there's usually everyone sort of just falls into this mixing pot. So it's not really a bestiary, it's the alien database, has 2 pages for each creature. One is for if the GM wants to use it, one if you want to play as that race. So I thought that's really cool, because that really brings a lot more variety into the game, and it makes a lot more sense. I mean, I know D&D has, I'm sure Pathfinder has a way to convert certain monsters as playable races, but just the fact that that's right off the bat, that this book would be good for both sides.
It is pretty awesome. No, it's cool. I mean, it looks really fun, and it seems like
You're looking forward to play the rat race?
Oh yeah, I like the rats. Made me think of just Rat Trap from Beast Wars, but it does seem like there isn't a science fiction answer in RPGs to D&D or Pathfinder. I mean, there are plenty of sci-fi. There's the Star Wars, of course, but I feel like there isn't a major one that everybody knows, and I feel like this could fill that niche, that gap, in a way. I feel like other than Star Wars, I mean,
are you counting Shadowrun?
I guess Shadowrun is that, but that's that's the cyberpunk, and this is really the Star Wars Space Odyssey thing.
Right, that's why.
But no, it's true. It's a similar but different. But so anyway, I'm sure it's going to be cool. That sounds really neat. I feel like RPG games. Steve Jackson had one called Ghosts Love Candy.
Yeah, we actually talked about this in our interview. You got to play this
I got to actually play it. Basically, you're different ghosts, and you're trying to steal candy from children. It's kind of sick. Yeah, and the way it works is you have cards with numbers on them, and the higher cards you get to play first, but your kid has a score on it. So if the kid has the number 15, and sort of like Smash Up, if there are enough ghosts on it to make 15 or more,
they break.
The kid gets scared, and if you are the person who scared the kid, you get it, and that card is worth minus points at the end of the game.
Look, we just want to steal their candy. We don't want to scare them. That's like crossing the line.
It is a very weird theme, but
we just want to tax them.
Once you get into it, the kids also have powers, and depending on where you play them, you can interact with the other players and change which candies you get. Everybody's going for different candies depending on what their hidden scorecard tells them.
Right, and I think you actually did, like both you and Ivan, like...
I think Ivan won. He had a lot of candy.
Both you got a lot of your candy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice element, because it's always like, he's getting a lot of chocolate. Is that just because he is, or is that what he wants?
Right. So it's very light and weird, and the art is kind of just okay in my opinion, but it was surprisingly pretty fun. If you have, especially around Halloween, and if you have kids, I think it's a pretty good bet.
Well, actually, might it be terrible because then they'll think ghosts are out to steal their candy.
That's what Halloween is for.
It's perfect. So that way, when you actually steal the candy, you're like, it's a ghost.
Exactly. The one thing that sucks is if your top candy is candy corn, you're like, I don't want to get candy corn or black licorice, but some people like those candies. I don't know. Next one you got to play, a couple that you got to play, Steam Forged Dark Souls.
Yes, there was a Steam Forged table. They actually had 2 games there, but unfortunately, Ivan played the other one.
Right.
It was called Guild
Ball, so we can't speak to that.
It looks sort of like if Guilds played soccer.
Yeah.
And I know the 2 that were in the core set, because I remember reading the back, goes to me, was like the tavern people and the craftsmen. So like one had hammers and stuff, the other one had like a giant mug of like just beer just spilling around him.
He said it was cool. I think he said he liked it.
But Dark Souls, a lot of people have been looking forward. I've backed on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. We got to play a few rounds, and we actually did really well against the Fire Dancer, I think it's called. I'm totally blanking. I haven't played the game, spoiler.
Sounds right.
But it was really cool, had that really good sort of, do I go for that extra hit? And there was a time when I did it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna really regret.
It was cool because it looked, each person had their own player board or mat that had, you have a lot of different, you have like agility cubes, and what was going on with all that?
There are 2 cubes. You have only one bar though. There's damage and stamina. Now if they meet, you die, but they start on opposite ends. So if it fills up, but you heal stamina each turn, damage you don't, unless you have some weird ability, I guess. But what was really cool, my favorite thing is, because playing, I'm sure one of the big things people like about Dark Souls, and when it's compared in the same vein, almost like Monster Hunter has it, it's the memorizing of the boss, like recognizing it's going to go for an overhead slash or a flame charge. And the game masters that, because the boss has only 5 like cards, I think 5, a very small number, but they flip over and they'll say what they do, and once they're done, they just go right back. So you can recognize, like, oh, he did that. I know he's going to go for the right next time. It shuffles once you get him, hit him low enough, which I did. I was like, oh, crud. Because I did that before thinking about it. I'm like, okay, he's lower. I only have 2 health left. Luckily, I just missed his special attack. But it was really fun. I love that because when you're playing with friends, you can be like, okay, let's go through this. And because there's something called, I think it's called Sparks,
Okay.
It's something in the actual game. Pretty much, you all get 3 strikes to die and reset in the dungeon. You can actually be like, okay, we're just gonna feel out this boss, just see what his movement cards and stuff are like.
Got it.
And that way, when you go back in, you can be like, okay, now that we know what could be coming up, we'll know how to deal with it. So instead of, let's avoid his right side because he tends to hit over there or something.
So it sounds also like the Monster Hunter board game we wish maybe existed.
Well, this is it. But as we know, a lot of stuff is coming out with a lot of different bosses, monsters, miniatures, equipment. So really cool.
So Dark Souls, again, you don't need us to tell you, but that sounds cool. You also got to play from Ultra Pro Battle Kittens.
Yes, this is a fun little cute drafting game. We did see it in our interview.
We saw a little bit of it, then you got to try it out.
It turned out to be really fun. Drafting around in hidden mechanics, and I came in 2nd place.
And basically, right, you're drafting, and there's 3, I think, different attributes, or maybe 4 or 5.
There are 4 different attributes, but there are 3 bases. You know that 2 of the bases will, what attributes be? Like, in our game, we know cute and strength were for the 2 bases. Then 1 base is hidden with 2 cards. One of the other 2 cards, so you don't know exactly which of the other ones.
So you might take a gamble and be like, oh, I hope that other card is this, and hope I have some
and that's
stuff.
what I actually got a pretty balance for it. I was like a little bit stronger was this, but it didn't. But it turns out the guy who came in first gambled heavily on that last one, and he just took it. So.
All right, and it's very cutesy, funny pun.
Oh yeah,
cat
all
names.
the nights are names too. It's like it's Mittens. It's like a little fencing one, and then Cleo. It's has a little Egyptian headdress and stuff.
So that looked cute and fun. Again, you'll see more of that in our other video. And the last one that we got to see, which was also a bit of a surprise to me, I think both of us, from USAopoly, the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 game, which I think was just called Awesome Mixtape or something Mixtape. I'll put up the box art. But essentially, it was a very light game where everyone is playing a card or receives a card with a number on it, and then on your turn you can decide if you want to keep it or trade it with the person to your left. And whoever has the highest, or it doesn't matter if you have the highest, but whoever has the lowest number loses the round.
Of course, there are event decks which could change things up, meaning the highest one may lose it instead, or both, or no one.
Yes, yeah, right. And then there's also mixtape cards, which as soon as things are revealed, you might be able to add points to someone else's card or take points from their card, depending on what you want to do, or your own cards.
There are a lot of things involving a mixtape, so it's like stop, fast forward, play.
Right, and each person is playing as one of the Guardians characters.
Right. Who did you play as?
I was Nebula, I believe.
Oh, is that the female?
She's the bald blue lady.
Yeah, I played as Baby Groot.
That's nice, and they have their own abilities. So this, usually when you see a licensed game, especially one coming out for a movie, our hopes aren't too high. But this was pretty fun. Very, very light party game. Definitely a filler thing you could play with large groups of people uninitiated to board games. Didn't really make me feel like I was in any way part of the Guardians of the Galaxy universe.
Fine.
Yeah, but
for what it was.
But it was okay.
I did enjoy that the number cards, all the 2s are the same and stuff, and they had things like the 2. I don't know if you noticed, was the leg from the first movie. If you remember, I got the prosthetic leg. We didn't need that. I can't believe you actually got that.
Right. Yeah. It seemed to have stuff from both the movies, even though it says Volume 2 on the box. If you care about that. But yeah, it's fun. Pretty fun. I'm curious, I don't know, but it felt like maybe this was another game that they skinned to have Guardians of the Galaxy on it.
Possibly, I don't know.
I don't know that for sure. So that was all the stuff that we got to see. Again, we're going to have these interviews coming out over the next 2 weeks that have way more things to talk about that we can't fit into this. Tons of really cool stuff. New stuff from Czech Games, new code names, another new Vlada game.
The Mario game from USAopoly.
USAopoly's new Mario game, a new Justice League TCG that's going to be shown off. So very cool stuff from these companies and more. Stay tuned. But that covers basically our PhD event. We really had a lot of fun. It was fun. So if it was nice if anybody happens to be watching this or listening to this that we met, it was really cool to talk to not even just publishers, but just other people who had seen our show and all that kind of stuff. Made us feel good.
Oh, very good. But before the event, we were able to squeeze in a game night, and we actually got some pretty good.
Some pretty good ones. So we're going to take off our business hats and go back to our game night hats.
All right, let's take the shirts off.
Nobody wants that. First one that we played is called Planetarium.
Yes, this is a Kickstarter I got, and I cannot wait to hit the table. Pretty much, you're in a galaxy not galaxy, a system.
We'll call it a system.
That just formed, and you're each trying to make, in essence, you're trying to make the coolest planets.
Yeah.
You're all working on these 4 planets, 2 gaseous, 2 more solid Earth-like planets. And it's pretty much playing different kinds of cards on them, like if it has a cave system, and these things can make a more desolate, more habitable life.
Yeah, basically the board is a series of rings, and the planets are moving around it, and then there's also matter tokens. So on your turn, you get to move either a planet or matter, and like if the planet lands on a certain type of matter, you get it, and that's what you're using as your resources to pay for your cards that you're playing.
Right, and in the last turn, after people play enough cards, because that's pretty much the timer is how much matter is used, you're going to have final evolution cards is what they called them, and they can only be played if like a planet's habitable in this ring or like meets certain conditions. So then part of it is not just playing on these for points, but then being like, I need to make sure that this planet looks like this by the end game.
Yeah, those are sort of analogous to your Ticket to Ride Ultimate Train cards, where there's kind of thing you're trying to build towards over the course of the game, hopefully. So it definitely by the end is when at least I was really like, oh no, now I have to worry about making sure I can actually complete all of these. And you can go for there's bigger ones worth more points, but they're a lot harder to get the requirements for.
Right.
Or smaller ones you could get a bunch of, again, like Ticket to Ride, sort of. Yeah, it went pretty quick. It's a cool theme. It's very unique mechanic of moving things around in circles and onto different rings.
No, and it was really fun because the cards also have little blurbs about them, like talking about some of the other planets we may have found with that. Overall light, but I think we all enjoyed it, and that included our more heavy gamer friend. Yeah,
the one thing that I felt a little weird about that I want to play more was just the way you get resources and spending them. You didn't really have an engine like a lot of these games where you would get more resources as time went on. So I can quite wrap my head around which resources I should be going for and when and how many. I don't know if like we did well or if we did really poorly compared to other people. If anyone's played, I'd be curious to hear their kind of results from that sort of thing. But yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Neat, fun.
I will say one of my favorite things was right in the beginning, you played on a planet was cavern systems. And then right after that, I'm like, all right, I play seismic earthquakes. Like, any life that was there is now gone.
Yeah, there's definitely fun things you can do with that theme. There's also the sci-fi cards.
Oh yeah, because I backed on Kickstarter, got a little sci-fi pack, so there's like a Dune card,
Vulcan was in there. That was fun. Then we played an oldie but a goodie, Seasons, which we always enjoy, but doesn't hit the table that often. I don't know how much we have to add to the discussion, but it was just nice to take it out. It's a good, solid, reliable game, and we did do the drafting, and there were some twists and turns because we definitely.
I still don't know how I pulled ahead. I'm very confused.
Our friend Garrett was miles ahead of us, and then
he was like at 80 when we were at 10.
And you were then I started kind of siphoning points from both of you. You were in last place, and then as a result of a few energy cards you played, just zoomed ahead at the end, and Garrett and I ended up pretty close together.
I think probably also because I didn't do any of the bonuses.
Right. Those bonuses are a big deal because usually when I first started, I was terrified to ever use them. Then I noticed the people who are winning have been using those, so I'm not going to be as afraid to use them. Yeah, it's definitely.
But I did not use them at all.
It's interesting.
You two did, so.
That is interesting because I don't know. There's no right way to do it. It's really dependent on what you draft, really.
And what other people are. No, I think that's the big thing. There's if both of us were doing it. With both of you two, I'm like, well, there's no penalty if I choose to, but if I avoid doing it, I'm getting a bonus when you guys aren't.
For sure, yeah. So I think I would like to definitely try one or two of those expansions for this, because this is one we've had for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And really like.
I would say the one thing is we still really feel that it's a 3-player game. It's not a 4.
Yeah, because there's 3 rounds, and each person gets to be the first player once. It always feels wrong to have a fourth person.
So we really enjoy playing at 3.
Oh, yeah.
But you finally got your chance to play Mansion Madness for the first time, the second edition. I have played it the first scenario twice. We actually got to play the second scenario. I just wanted to choose a different one, so I just chose the next one. I didn't think about time and difficulty. wow, it turned out to be difficult right off the, like...
We lost.
Yes. We won't spoil too much, but pretty much the place got engulfed in flames.
Yeah, essentially the scenario was we're in a hotel in Innsmouth trying to gather information and then escape.
Yes, before the people of Innsmouth suspect too much.
So, as you said, it was my first time playing it. I thought it was very cool. It is... the framework is very similar to the original Mansions of Madness, but the feeling of it is totally different. I really felt more like I was playing a video game than a board game. And I would even compare it a little bit to Time Stories. I felt much more like it was a story-based experience and less like a game with more kind of gamey, fiddly rules, because most of that stuff was just handled by the app. So I wasn't thinking about it, and which I really liked. I don't know. I feel like maybe there's people who wouldn't like that as much as the original. I didn't expect it to feel that different.
Right.
I almost feel like Garrett, for example, seems like someone who might prefer the first one. I'm not sure.
Well, I enjoyed this one more because one of the things I think you liked it a lot, was, it wasn't just, oh, there's the monster, do a roll, let's compare attack. You'd be like, what's happening? I'd be like, he gurgles at you and then swings around. And you actually get all these little, they have different, and the next time you fight it, also it'll be like, it sneaks into the shadows, and then, so it actually had a lot more.
It really felt like a living space, and not knowing what map tile was going to come up on the other side of something, I really had the sense almost that I could just leave and explore and do whatever I wanted. It didn't feel like this was a predestined map, which was amazing to pull off, I think.
And like I said, I don't know about this one, but the first scenario, when I played it twice, they had different, similar but different tiles. So I wasn't 100, the spacing was just different. So.
Yeah, we're still not 100% sure how they changed things, because I know we were looking for some keys and we never ended up finding them, and we searched almost every single spot on the map before we finally died. So we're like, oh, but we can't say, oh, we know where they are now, because they might move them around. So, which is pretty good, but also frustrating.
But even though we lost overall, I enjoyed my experience. I don't know about you. We've been busy because of the whole convention and stuff, but every time I've had a chance since to lay down, if I can finish this stuff, my work stuff I have to do quick enough, maybe I'll start, just a single player and play to the side.
There's definitely something to be said for it that even though we played between 2 and 3 hours probably, because that app is handling so much, it's not nearly as taxing on your brain. You don't have to worry about all these rules.
Right. It was only in the last 5 minutes when we knew we were on, even the app saying, you're taking too long.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And it started off well, but then...
But overall, I can't wait to play through the rest. I hope you will join me on those events.
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely want to try all those scenarios out. They were really cool.
I actually want to lend you the base, so you can play the first on your own.
Scenario, yeah. Because
I've already played twice, so I'm like, I think I want to give that one a break, but...
No, that would be cool. So,
but we're finding that key.
We're going to find it. We're going to talk to that old drunk guy, too, who we didn't talk to. So lots of cool stuff there.
Old drunk guy.
And the fact that it was fully cooperative, nobody was mad at anybody else, was nice. So a lot of stuff going on. That's all we have to talk about this week. We didn't talk about, there really wasn't a lot of the news. Most of the news was stuff that you're going to see in these interviews coming out, which we're excited for you to see.
I guess there's one other small thing, just for sort of a funny thing. This wasn't new stuff. The people from Wizards of the Coast Magic Gathering are there, and they showed us one of the new play styles they have called League. And which you open 3 packs, make a deck, and it was really funny because when you and I were at the table, we're like, we haven't played Magic. They were so excited. They're like, someone doesn't know, we can teach them.
Actually, no, that's a good point. I didn't think to talk about that, but yeah, we basically sat down and everybody got to open 3 packs and try to make a deck.
And it was really funny comparing the both of you, because as you said, when the guy was like, yeah, you didn't get it.
Yeah, my picks were not good.
Meanwhile, Ivan's like, okay, you got a foil push. This is a really amazing card right now.
But it was, it did kind of bring back these feelings of oh yeah, feels good to open a pack and just see the cards. Like you get the endorphin rush right away, which is a little scary, but was entertaining.
And you didn't even know half the cards, so like even
I
if
didn't
you
know what
opened,
any of it meant.
Like this person next to you opened a Johnny, like the Planeswalker, and remember when the guy saw that, he's like, "You're going green white," and you would have been like, "Ooh, this is pretty."
But how many cards were in each of those decks? Was it like 15?
It's the 30 card decks initially.
But I mean, sorry, not decks. Each pack.
I think it's 15 pack.
Because I'm used to like 10. I don't know what the standard is for Magic. No.
I think it's 15 standard in Magic. I think it's. I don't know what the other
But
ones.
it felt like
10 in Pokemon.
a good value.
No, you get a lot of. That's why you get more of the popper drop. You can do more of that stuff, which is nice. But overall, really fun to see everyone and see how the game companies are trying to listen to the stores.
Yeah.
And give them some interesting games, not just to play, but also that would be like, this will look well right next to the cash register or whatever the case may be.
Absolutely. So please subscribe and like this channel and this video so you can get updates on all those videos as they come out over the next 2 weeks. As we said, tons of great stuff coming up. You don't want to miss it. You can also leave us a comment right here if you want to give us some feedback or have a question about the show or any of those games we talked about. Maybe something we didn't specify you're curious about.
You can also check it out on a whole lot of other places, at Roll for Crit at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Yep.
In Jonathan's dreams.
Or just leave a comment right here. We'll read it on the show. And then there's our website, rollforcrit.com, where we sell games, including some of the ones maybe related to ones that we talked about today or otherwise.
We will be.
Yes, or will be in the future. You don't want to miss any of that stuff. It's really, 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 really good.
That's a lot of reallys.
So, hope you had fun. Until our next real official episode, I'm Jonathan Estes.
And I'm Will Keeler.
And this has been Roll for Crit.